*4# for only 10 shillings, and you will get the full story right here. Joining me on this particular panel is none other than nominated Senator Sylvia Kasanga, who is also the chair of the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19. Welcome, Mheshimiwa, once again. We also have Zach Kinothia, the CAS in the Ministry of Education, and Stephen Wekesi, who is a public policy analyst. Now, we left off the conversation talking about the BBI reggae and how it could be contributing very, very, very highly on the surge that we're seeing right now as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And Mr. CAS, I'll just ask you a question in regards to this whole situation. And you mentioned that the kids are the ones who are attending most of these rallies. What is the government doing, apart from just reopening the schools? There are many other areas that the Ministry of Education can come in as far as protecting our kids is concerned.
Well, I would say the people who are attending rallies are the other classes which have not resumed. That is from 1, 2, and 3, class 6, all the way down with the gap of 4 and then 2, 3, 1. And as you know, it is not easy for us to police these children, those who are at home.
Right.
And our ultimate efforts are geared towards protecting the 3 classes that have resumed. And we are doing everything possible. We are going across the country to enforce. I was in the Lake Region block last week, the whole of last week until Saturday. The CS was in the other side. The others, all of us, are in every region to ensure that these 3 classes becomes a model, that they shall learn, that they shall transit, you know, against the wave safely.
Okay.
Because we are praying, those who are in boarding school are not a problem. Because even if one gets infected, can be isolated, and the rest are quarantined, because the boarding is a quarantine on itself. Those who are day school is a problem. There is nothing I can do as a, well, let's say, decorated assistant minister.
Is that what you are?
Well, we are CSs. Perhaps let's put it that way. There is nothing I can do, neither can the CS do anything, as far as those who are at home are concerned, and they are spending time wherever they do. We can't say they should not. Ours as a principle is that children who are school going must not be exposed to political shenanigans, must not be exposed to idling, must be engaged in meaningful work at home. And this is a duty that the parent can take. If it is difficult, then we are saying the Ministry of Interior, through their representative all the way to the chief, can be reported that children A, B, C, D, or an adult A is using our children for these efforts, and we believe it is a clear threat towards exposing them. So let me say it this way, with our honesty on the national TV. As a ministry, right now, our efforts are geared towards ensuring that the 3 classes that have resumed are, first of all, safe. Secondly, they are progressing in knowledge acquisition. And thirdly, that they are getting prepared for the national examinations that are slated for March. And for this one, we will deliver as a government. And we are so ready.
Yes.
If there is a case that shall threaten this mission, we said, we are going to isolate the case. We are not going to close the whole school. Yeah, because, you know, there have been a case. The people who are pushing us to close schools are not honest. Because I haven't heard them say close bars. Because the theater of absurd in this coronavirus reinfection and resurgence is the entertainment joints. If we can close schools, then we must close the bar, we must close hotels. And I'm saying, because we can't, you don't have to go that way, let us take care of our children who are day scholars, and they consist of 74%.
Okay, ngoja kidogo. Mheshimiwa Senator Kasanga, you've heard what the CS has said, that they're going to deal with isolated incidences as they arise. But here we're looking at a situation whereby Belgium, the UK, Germany, and France are, you know, shutting down their own countries and major cities so they can contain this particular situation. Why are we blind to this fact that other countries that are even more advanced in terms of taking care of issues are taking stringent measures?
I think when we interacted with the Ministry of Health and the National Response Team on these issues, and also when we spoke to the doctors, because they would appear severally in our committees, it is clear that we have to customize our decisions based on our own environment and, you know, monitor how our environment is, how how the virus is manifesting itself in our environment. In much as we are also watching what's happening in the West and in the Americas, we can see the manifestation of the virus is slightly different or is significantly different in Africa, in most parts of Africa, and specifically our country here. We're not seeing as many deaths at the point of the curve compared to the same point of the curve in the European countries. Now, they're also going into winter. So this could be also playing back into the resurgence of the disease. But you can see even in their lockdowns how they're approaching them, and where that some of the countries, their education systems are still running. So you can see it is also a measured approach, which is what I hope the conversation at the National Response Team is going to be sort of in a measured way. Because I can tell you without a doubt, I don't think this country we can handle another lockdown economically. All right. One of the thematic areas that we were dealing with as a committee, we called it the economic and finance issues, where we were dealing with issues of macro and economic effects, impact on businesses, trade facilitation, and measures to cushion borrowers and financial institutions. And I can tell you, under this thematic area, our conversations with the National Response Team, those who are in that sector, the trade industry and all those, the banking sector and all the others, not enough measures have been given to cushion our small and microeconomic measures. We are still waiting for the relief packages that were promised. And we have a meeting, I think, before we exit and finish our committee meeting. Right. Our committee, we have a meeting with the Juakali sector, because they have reached out to us and they're saying, nothing has been done enough to support the Juakali sector. And I remember they were given desks to make and to prepare for the reopening of schools. Right. A kitty that was supposed to be almost, maybe the CS is there, he can confirm what the kitty was supposed to be. And many of them, those who were identified and they are marked for making of the desks, went ahead and started as they wait. But they have not yet received the money. In fact, they requested to meet with us because of this. And they're saying, now how are we going to support the government is supposed to support us so that at least we can continue, running up some business and things like that. Right. So when it comes to this sector of economics, the National Response Team is yet to do some of what they promised to support businesses. Okay. So if we go ahead and lock down again, that lockdown has to be done with a lot of thought process, because Kenyans don't have food on their table. You cannot lock down hungry people. Okay. You cannot lock down unhappy people. Yes. All right. So at least we know that there are those critical areas that need to be looked into.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, just hold on. Getting back to you again shortly. Stephen, you've heard what she has said in regards to the possibility of a lockdown or thereof not. If you look at the situation that we are in right now, and we look at the West, like we've mentioned, the UK, Belgium, France, and major players such as Germany are shutting down, why are we not following suit? Why are we not taking the baton literally from them and doing the same here? Well,
I'd tell you, Paul, the announcements that were made by all those European countries were made over this past weekend, and it's because of the surge in numbers. But even as you see from the proposal that was made by Boris Johnson on Saturday about the measures that he's looking into, they're very soft. They are not like what we would have expected before. And the idea is that we really must try and keep our economies moving, regardless of the fact that we are experiencing a surge in numbers. Now, I would also recommend the same, that it's best that we look at what are the key mechanisms that we can put in place that will ensure that the economies keep on moving, that people keep on doing business as they are supposed to be doing business, and that we do not constrain the little progress we've made post the lockdowns that were experienced before. Okay. Now, on my thinking and looking at what has been mentioned by Senator Kasanga, it's very important that even as the government considers any measure, either lowering the curfew times from 11 to lower, or maybe restricting some movement, if any, or in some particular regions, the most important thing that we would have to look into is what are we doing to put money in people's pockets, because that's the most important thing. Right. Now, since the beginning of this country, there is no other time that the Ministry of Education has received such a significant budget. I think about 497.7 billion is a significant amount. Out of that money, 1 billion shillings was set aside just for the desks project. And as has been mentioned, if this money was reaching the people as it was intended, right now we'd be having people discussing things from a very different perspective. The credit guarantee scheme that was proposed by the president, even at the last conference on the 28th of September, he said that the banks will be cushioned for micro and small scale enterprises to be able to borrow this money. But these credit guarantee schemes have not yet been operationalized. The other day they were talking about that if you're going to receive this money, you should be a publicly listed company. So new roadblocks are being put up whereby we should be encouraging these small companies and enterprises to be able to thrive even as we are trying to recover from this pandemic. So my urging to both the government and to also other players within the private sector is that we need to really push for more economic measures to be pushed down to our people so that we can be able to thrive more. Right. I've been pushing for discussions whereby the Council of Governors should consider during this period till the end of December, regardless of any measures that will be taken on Wednesday or not, that small business scale owners should be cushioned from paying market fees and things like that. These are the things that will help our people believe that as policymakers, we are concerned about their plight and what the things are happening, the things that are happening to them. Right. So in my view, come Wednesday, the President and the Council of Governors and everyone else who will be attending that conference, it's important that we do not take any measures because others are doing it. Okay. We should take measures that are aimed at specifically trying to contain the spread of this particular virus. However, we try as much as possible to make sure that we are empowering our people through providing the right finance incentives to help them to do what they can do to thrive.
Bonus, yes. Monies have been mentioned here in regards to the Ministry of Education, and especially what the Senator said in regards to the desks. Why did we need new desks, yet when the children left school, they left desks there, and actually we have a surplus considering the other classes that did not even attend the classes. So why did we need new desks, yet we have desks?
That's a good question because there are two reasons why the desks were proposed. And the first reason is the acute demand for desks and lockers and chairs. It is never enough. Classes are not enough. Even before COVID-19, the infrastructure in our schools is not sufficient to cater for 100% transition. It was not enough to cater for the children coming into school now that it's free. You remember in 2003 when President Kibaki came in, free education, when it was rolled out, so many people came out. Over 40% of children who could not afford school came into school. But remember, for the first time, we are hearing of desk. Over the last 15 years, it's 17 actually, we have never heard of desks. We have never heard of infrastructure being refilled in our schools because this demand has had a lot of strain in our delivery of education. And you can tell, our head teachers can tell you, if they speak to you here, that they have never had an acute shortage as much as it has been now. Okay. So as to whether we have enough desks, no. We don't have enough desks, that's a fact. We don't have enough classes, that's a fact. And that is why we are now saying, as we put money into the pocket, because this was an economic stimulus program of a kind, as the Senator is putting about, with Juakali people, what we can do to our schools, let us do now. What we can do to our hospitals, let us do now, even as we put money in the pocket. That's why we devolved that function. I was in Busia town, and I visited 2 workshops that have been given this job to do. And these are workshops which, in normal circumstances, they would never have received this kind of jobs, this kind of contracts. They would never have been engaged because, as you know, the way centrally things were being done. Okay. But now, I also visited others in Migori, went to Kuria land, found that people are making these desks. And the issue that the Senator is raising, this money, first of all, was 1.9 billion shillings. Okay. 1.9 billion shillings was going towards desks. This money, we realized that as the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Education co-chair to steer this process, if we gave money, there was credible information and fear that if we gave a down payment of some money, some of these Juakali people, because obviously did not have a greater capacity, they had capacity to just do what we gave them. 70 desks, 50 desks, others 25, others 100, depending on capacity. They would run away. So we said, let them work on what they can.
Deliver.
Let them deliver. And we will support them. And we'll give, their money is actually ready. The good thing is that money is ready. Those who deliver are paid.
Okay.
I was in a school that has delivered 70 and 20, 90. And I was there to receive them in our school.
Okay.
So, as of whether we have enough, no. People are asking, then why would you buy a desk if you have not enough classes? We are also building classes under SECI program of World Bank. And we are building classes.
And that is away from the 1.9?
No, this is actually another 6.7 billion shillings project.
Okay. Which
we are building classes, lavatories and laboratories. And that project actually should have started now. It has delayed because of technical hitches from the World Bank and our agreements, but it is ready. Contractors have tendered, they have gone through evaluations and all these things, but there's a few hitches which shall be resolved as early as perhaps this week. Okay. So we also be building classes in 30 counties that are so needful. There are counties that don't need. You know, when people say classes are not enough, it is true, but government facilities are not even full. People who choose to go to private school do not go because there is no space in public. Here in Nairobi, for example, public schools are not full because people want to take their children where they think they'll get quality education in a private enterprise, but we still have schools. But there are counties that children cannot fit. And those are the counties we have taken this money to build classes. So, as far as desks are concerned, for two reasons they were made. One, to continue complementing the ones that already exist, and two, to put money in the hands, as the senator tried to put it, in the juakali, the Mo90, apate kitu kidogo, because others were getting an average, it's not much money, an average profit. If every desk they could save 500, if you're making 70, that is at 5,000. Okay. So that's not a lot of money, but to a common Mo90 in the village, that money is enough for them to move to the next level.
Mheshimiwa, you've just heard what the CAS has said. So still on money matters, let's talk about the mismanagement of the COVID-19 funds that there was an expose and many others I'm sure might arise in the future. Do you believe or do you feel that if we hadn't mismanaged the monies that were set there before, probably wouldn't be seeing the kind of surges we are seeing right now, because we'd have enough masks and enough ventilators and enough beds and enough facilities?
I don't know. I'm not sure how I'll answer that question. Maybe there are two different things. The mismanagement of the funds and the resurgence or, you know, the increased cases, they could be a bit different, because the resurgence also has to do with mannerisms as opposed to the lack of, say, masks or the not washing hands, for instance. Things like washing hands or social distancing are personal decisions more than the lack of, so to speak. But also, when it comes to the mismanagement, what has happened with the mismanagement of COVID funds, some of which may be perceived, some of which may be true, has caused Kenyans to lose trust in the entire process. So that's how the two questions now converge.
All right.
The lack of trust Kenyans, because now there is a belief that all this hue and cry on COVID was probably formed so that a few people can make money out of it.
All right.
And we've seen such scenarios in this country. When it comes to issues of corruption and theft of public funds, it is not new. I think the shocking thing is that people were playing, you know, this corruption game, or wheeler dealing, or whatever it is, with corruption money, most which was donor funds. I think that is what really got everyone reeling. And then we lost the trust and faith of Kenyans in the process. And that is why you'll hear many people saying, there's no COVID. These people just wanted to say there's COVID so that they can, donor money can come, and then they can enjoy. So that is the impact of the theft of funds or the perceived theft of funds that may have taken place in the different entities. And as you know, our committee has been sitting jointly with the Health Committee at Senate to do our part as Senate of investigating these COVID funds loss at KEMSA, as well as the county governments. And the county governments, what has happened with the county governments is that we have received a lot of whistleblowers through their senators. They would say, they say, come and investigate this. And because we don't have capacity to investigate as a committee or a Senate, we are not very well funded for that. We use the mechanisms that the Constitution has set up. So we use the Controller of Budget, who sent their initial reports. Then we used, of course, the Auditor General. We sent out letters requesting for a very comprehensive audit on the county use of funds.
Yes.
Now, it is also sad when the CAF. CAF is the County Assemblies Forum. When they appeared before us, they brought a report to say that actually none of the county assemblies has been able to oversight the COVID funds at the county level, those that were presented on a supplementary budget, as well as the money that was sent down from the national government. And you see now when you receive a report like that, you can see why Kenyans lose faith. Why hasn't the mechanism of oversight at the county assemblies been happening?
Right.
Again, maybe the governors and their governments have been playing, games with Kenyans by using COVID as an excuse not to have accountability on the funds, because you call for meetings. What CAF was telling us is that they're not able to get meetings going because of COVID restrictions and things like that. So in the process, money is being used and there's no oversighting of that money, and there's no accountability from the county governments, from the governors and their executives. So
Senator, I'll ask you.
These are the issues Kenyans to lose trust in the entire process.
I will ask you also in the same breath, do you think that our facilities are currently overstretched? Because we've seen different medics on social media saying that Hospital A is not able to handle the surge in numbers that have been coming into our facilities. Hospital B the same, Hospital C across the counties. Do you think that our facilities are actually overstretched? And do you think we might actually get to a place whereby there will be no available beds or even ventilators for patients?
Well, Paul, it has happened in other countries. I don't know why it should not happen in our country, especially with the fact that we are no longer being cautious so that we slow down the infection rate. The whole idea of the lockdowns in the first place was to slow the rate such that not too many people are getting infected over a short period of time. That is how to manage the capacities in the hospitals.
Right.
But now that is not happening. So yes, we shall see an increase in the hospitals. We have to take it from what the doctors are saying, and it is true. If the doctors are telling us that the hospitals are full, then we have to take that. I can tell you as a committee, right now we don't know, we are not seized of the current situation, because we have handed over that to the Committee on Health, and we hope that they are handling it. But as far as my committee is concerned, we are not yet abreast as of now on the status. But we have to believe what the doctors are saying. I mean, they're coming out passionately on TV. They're saying, please, politicians, stop, support us. We are overwhelmed. Then it must be true they are overwhelmed. And we are aware also a lot of the counties were not prepared fully from the protocols that were given by the National Response Team. That already we have a report from the Ministry of Health showing us at least only maybe at most 40% of the counties may have prepared the basic, protocols that the national government had asked them to do with the money that they had sent down. So that again tells us something.
All right, Mheshimiwa,
a lot of counties are not.
Yeah, just hold on the line again. I shall be coming to you for the last comments in a short while. Stephen, overstretching of the facilities. We are saying doctors are actually complaining and they are tweeting about it on social media, and they're saying Nikubaya. Should we be afraid as a country?
We should be afraid. And you see what's the paradox in this country is that in one point, this COVID really exposes one element that's very critical in our healthcare system, and that's the issue of ventilators and ICU beds, because when you're at a critical stage, you need these two facilities. But what's funny, at some point last week, there was a hue and cry that there are no available ICU beds all over the country. And at the same breath, you'd read in the newspaper that Kisumu Referral Hospital, that Jaramogi Odinga Referral Hospital, is saying that we are shutting down our ICU facility for lack of patients. So you see there's some discordance somewhere in terms of how we're managing this thing nationally. And I think we dropped the ball. The true facts of the matter is that we dropped the ball. It's time that we as policymakers and anybody who's interested in taking care of this country starts relooking at where did the rain start beating us. Are we having an effective coordination between public and private hospitals and management of the same? I'll tell you this, under the Ministry of Health, the provision of ICU ventilators and ICU beds and all that thing is provided under a mechanism with some of the private sector players. There are some spaces in this particular country where governors are saying, instead of an ICU bed being put in a facility that can actually be able to cater for all the other attendant measures, so that the moment somebody comes out of ICU, he can be able to be taken to other recovery procedures. ICU beds are being put in hospitals for political expediency, and those hospitals are not able to even manage ICU patients. So somebody is being moved from one hospital that has no ICU bed, taken to a place to stay during that ICU recovery period, and then transported back to another, to the main hospital to now continue with their recovery. This lack of coordination and ability to see how best can we manage these circumstances as they emerge is what we've been lacking. Okay. Now, if I could quickly just point out...
30 seconds, please. Yeah. Yes.
We, as a country, need to wake up and say, right now, it's time that we take these measures seriously. We need to tell our people to begin to wash their hands and to take COVID protocols much more seriously than we have before.
All right.
It's time we do this so that we save this country.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Makamu Waziri, maybe you tell us, in regards to this particular topic for today, what are we expecting the President to tell us on Wednesday? 30 seconds.
1 year ago, I would have been able to answer that question. Today, if I say anything that I expect the President to say, I'll be short-circuiting him, and as his servant, it would be a great danger.
Okay.
But before, in his shoes, as a public policy analyst, I would have said many things. But today, I have lost my voice when it comes to predicting the President.
Okay.
But I would want to say, as I complete, I am appealing to the parents and the guardians and the kinsmen and kinsfolk for all the children we have taken back to school to be in a position to help us take care of the children when they are in their hands. When they are in our hands, I am assuring the parents 100% support, care, and safety as far as government is concerned.
Right.
But when they are out of us, 6 p.m. until 6 a.m.,
that is for the parents.
We are not able to do anything. I am appealing to them to support us. Finally, because you said 30 seconds, I have spent 20. The last 10.
5 seconds.
Oh, 5 seconds.
Yes.
It would be wrong if I do not mention the greatest derby that the government is going to throw out there and the support, what we are working on. I may not be able to go into details, but I'm telling and asking Kenyans to stand with the BBI because it is a wind that is going to blow and get off all the stamps that have been greatest hindrances to our country in terms of leadership, in terms of resources allocation, and in terms of inclusivity. It is a good document for our nation.
Thank you very much. We shall have a different discussion for the BBI. Mheshimiwa Kasanga, 10 seconds. What do you have to say in regards to Wednesday?
First, thank you again for having me here on K24, and I'll be happy to come anytime to answer any questions on anything.
Right.
Feel free to call me. When it comes to Wednesday, I really hope the national response team and the president can just rein in on the politicians a little bit. You know, when we started our committee, we were dealing with issues of human rights because of the high-handedness of police when they were enforcing COVID protocols.
All right.
We would like to see that level of implementation being you know, meted on politicians themselves, the leaders, because they seem to have forgotten that we have to lead, you know, from the front. It is us as leaders to lead from the front, and we have to sort of continue with the messaging at all times consistently as leaders, telling Kenyans to be careful. A lot of Kenyans are living with, you know, what we call other diseases, and they will be greatly affected by COVID-19. So we need to lead from the front.
Thank you very much, Senator, for that. Remember, back at home, you can dial *550 *4#. Get the full conversation on the People Daily, *550 *4# for only 10 shillings. Thank you very much, Mr. Stephen. Thank you very much, Bwana Waziri. And of course, thank you very much, Senator. We shall be right back. We take a short break, but when we return, of course, on the other side, Alana Binadab and of course, Shikoka Itani joins us for Interactive. Do not go too far.